Well, now I have a mandatory out of service because I have a flat tire in Idaho. So I can sit down for whatever time it takes to fix the tire and try to rethink the issue of why the atmosphere is fixed or attached to the Earth in rotation. Anything that moves, like these cars or trucks, if you open the window and you put anything outside of the window, a piece of paper or anything, it's going to fly in the opposite direction of the motion. If you throw anything from the window, it is going to go backward in relation to the direction of motion. That is Newton's third law of motion. Every action has a reaction that is equal in magnitude and opposite in direction. So when the Earth moves or spins or rotates from the west to the east, the atmosphere was supposed to rotate in the opposite direction. The problem with that doesn't happen. If you look at the clouds, they are not rotating at the speed you expect them to rotate. Here in Idaho, the Earth rotates at the speed of 700 miles per hour around the axis of the Earth that extends from the North Pole to the South Pole. At that 700 miles per hour, very close to the speed of sound, you expect the Earth, the atmosphere, the air, to spin that fast. If that would happen, you will have a disaster. You will never have life on Earth. You will never have anything on Earth. It will be a very smooth, glistening globe with no life, no mountain, nothing. If the atmosphere spins in the opposite direction of rotation of the Earth at 700 miles per hour in this spot. The atmosphere does not spin at that speed at all. We agreed that the gravitational pull makes the sphere stratified. So the atmosphere have layers, one layer on the top of each other, on another layer or another layer. The heavier, the more dense layer, the denser layer is in the bottom. When you go up, the density decreases exponentially until you have zero density, ionized atmosphere. And then you have another, after 10 miles in elevation, 10 miles is about 50,000 something miles, 52,000 feet elevation. In the French or the meter system, the 10 miles is about 15 kilometer elevation or above the Earth. So why the atmosphere does not rotate in the opposite direction? I thought about another factor, I forgot. The sun heats the atmosphere where it falls on the ground and it depends on the angle. Here, for example, Idaho, now it is about 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock in Los Angeles now, or in Oregon, in Portland, it will be 5 o'clock. In New York, it will be about 9 o'clock p.m. So when the sun moves, well, the sun doesn't move. When the Earth spins, whatever area that is exposed to the sun is going to get hot. So now it is hotter if you move in Hawaii. It's going to be very hot because we are east to Hawaii. If you go down to New York, it will be cooler than here. So the difference in the temperature of the Earth that is dependent on how much solar energy falls on the ground, perpendicular multiplied by the angle of incidence, the cosine of the angle. It will determine how hot the surface is. A very delicate balance between heating the earth, heating the air, and creating air pressure. That's why the heat gradient or the temperature gradient pushes the air, the atmosphere, from the east to the west. Am I right or wrong? Yes, I think so. So when the Earth spins from the west to the east, we expect the atmosphere to go in the opposite direction. Well, I made a mistake. It's supposed to be that you will have zones of hot air or high pressure and zones of cold air, depending on where the sun is in relation to that zone of the earth. Another way, the heat gradient or the temperature gradient across the globe will determine vertical zones of hot air that's different from another vertical zone. That will create the vertical preference. We already have no problem with the horizontal preference due to gravitation will stratify the air, the atmosphere in horizontal or spherical layers around the earth. We now need to worry about the radial or the vertical layers or columns of air. Those vertical layers will be determined by two things. First, where is the sun in location of that zone, that vertical zone of the earth? The sun is going to heat that zone. Away from the sun, when it was daytime, it will be a little bit warmer. It's going to cool down, and on the night side, it's going to start warming up at the morning. So you have a vertical heat zone or thermal zone from one spot of the earth to another. It's different. That will push the air in a direction that is independent of the rotation of the earth. Or it is dependent in a way it will glue the atmosphere to the ground, provided that every area or every location of the earth will have a heat reserve or the ability or the capacity to retain heat and release it gradually when the sun is not there. So you hit the ground here in Idaho, for example, how long would the ground will start losing that heat? It depends on the structure of the area, what you call it, the albedo. The albedo is the ability of the part of the surface to retain heat and release the stored heat. That is the balance. The balance is how much heat a certain area on the earth gets from the sun that will create high atmospheric pressure, and how much heat the earth at that area can retain in its material and release it gradually, so it can modify the air pressure or in that zone when the sun is not there or when the sun moves away. A sort of moderation or dampening effect, so you don't have acute alteration in the thermal pressure or the air pressure. That might explain why the atmosphere is fixed at certain position. If you look, I'm looking at the clouds now. They are not moving crazy. They are not very high, not more higher than only 3 or 5 miles up. So if they are moving like crazy, I'm not going to have these lines, fine lines. clouds. That might answer to a certain extent why the atmosphere is fixed or attached to the Earth and it does not rotate in the opposite direction as you try to simplify the matter. As we explained before, if you have, for example, a watermelon, for example, and you put layers on it of any material, sticky material, say cake or water or some spongy stuff, and you spin the watermelon, the stuff are going to fly away from it. But the air is not flying away from the Earth. The atmosphere is not flying away. Yes, it is pulled down, but it's supposed to be moving horizontally in the opposite direction. It does not. To a certain extent, that might answer the question of why the atmosphere is fixed to, or it rotates with the Earth without having to escape in the opposite direction and cause devastating. Imagine you will have supersonic wind speed at the equator if the sun doesn't do this kind of delicate balance. So heating the air to a certain area and cooling it in another area where there is no sun creates localized high air pressure, which creates a high pressure, high atmospheric zone. The high atmospheric zone will push the air away from the center of that zone. It's exactly like trying to shoot down an aeroplane. How do you shoot it down? By a spray of bullets in front of it. You don't have to shoot it with one bullet. Spray of projectile. So the sun is creating a spray of hot, high pressure atmospheric zones that are heated by the sun when the sun falls on the Earth. Those zones of high pressure air will disturb the air, will allow the air to be stuck in that zone without having to escape all in a single layer of atmosphere running in the opposite direction and devastating life on Earth. And I am still waiting for the guy to repair my tires. This is Idaho in August.